เมื่อวานนี้เธอได้ยินเสียงคนห้องปะ
มันเหงาหลายใดนับตั้งแต่เริ่มตาบอดเมื่อหนึ่งที่ตื่นขึ้นมาคือโลกหน่วยนี้มันแคบลงนับตั้งแต่เสียสายตาคิดว่าเห็นภาพหลอน
ตอนที่มาดามบอกถึงเลขนั้นมันหมายความว่าตั้งไหน
เลขหยัง
อยู่ได้แก่364ฟังอีกทีนึง364
ลูกเห็นแม่มาตัวเพิ่นมีแต่เลือดและสิ่งที่มันบอกมันก็บ่มีความหมาย
หลับตาเพราะอย่างนี้ล่ะมันจบละ
Hello and welcome to one of the final Ghostface Girls videos of Celluloid Screams 2016. We've got something a little bit different going on. We've got the director of Dearest Sister, Mattie Do, and producer Annick. And we're just kind of a short little interview. It should be fun. So your first film, Chantilly, it represented sort of a break in several barriers. So it was sort of the first Lao horror film, first Lao film by a female filmmaker. Do you feel a pressure to set the standard?
I do now, but back then I didn't know what I was doing at all. I didn't know that there were these barriers. And making movies about women, it wasn't like I didn't go in being like I have to make movies about women. That might really disappoint some people that I said that, but I did notice that there was a lack of film about women in Laos, and I didn't know that it was a worldwide thing. Because we're quite isolated in Laos. We don't always get the world news, and so I didn't know that there was like a whole argument about it, a whole debacle about there's not enough stories about women. And I just observed that in Lao films, women are, I wouldn't even call them objects. They're mindless, soulless human beings that are just like an appendage for a love interest or for crying. and I was like, well, this is done because we have a lot of cool stories, but I didn't know it was breaking barriers. Now I feel an extremely strong responsibility to not only set the standard, but keep the standard higher than what I've already set it at. Every film I want to do better, you know.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. So you feel more of like a responsibility to set the standard high for other directors than coming out of the country in that now?
Oh, definitely.
Would you consider yourself a mentor? Or are you considering taking on that kind of role?
I have already started training not just started, I've trained 3 interns. All my actors I've trained myself. It's just that a lot of people say with their mouths that they want to be filmmakers. And my home is always open. Annick has seen, we live in this environment where anybody can contact us, anybody can visit us. We're very open about it. But people know that I have a reputation for, if you say you want to do something, and if you say you want to learn something, then by God you better do it, because it's like baptism by fire working with me. And you can't say, I want to be a filmmaker, and then when I ask you for your project or for your dossier, or when I ask you to do something and you don't do it on time, or you don't do it well, or you don't do it at all, I won't waste time of day on someone like that. And honestly, like with the Swiss development agency, they allowed me to create a program where I could build new filmmakers for the future, and I would personally select 3 filmmakers who've done short films before and who said that they have a passion for filmmaking, and I would pay them, which is insane. You don't pay interns, right? Pay them. Like, I basically paid them 10 times the salary of a minimum wage worker in Laos for their age group to work on film, and not just to work on film, but to learn every aspect of it and to have like real hands-on training. I don't mean a shitty workshop where you sit at a table and get talked at by a famous person. Like, you learn to do it and you will do it. And I had so few applicants at first, and some people saying, oh, I'd like to, but you know, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. And I was like, you don't think that I had to stop everything I was doing in my life to be able to make film? Like, I was a ballet teacher for children, and I loved it. And it's something I still miss and love greatly. But I didn't say, yeah, well, you know, this film thing is kind of getting in the way. No, you can't do that. And so in the end, I got 3 kids that were not even really that related to film, but they had the dedication. Well, one loved film, and another girl was kind of learning about story writing. And in the end, they're the most fiery and well-oiled young kids. And she's met them. And they're like super hard workers. And all the people who said, I want to do film, where were they?
It sounds like a good deal
Yeah.
as well.
It was a super deal. They
People
came out
to look out for as a feature.
10 times the salary. They got paid more than I did, actually. Everyone got paid more than we did.
We still haven't been paid.
We still haven't. Yeah, we don't make a
It's
dime.
still just the beer that you're getting paid in. That's
Yeah, we like
investment.
we like the beer.
So going back to Chantley, we felt like Mango was the breakout star
Yeah.
of that.
He
Steals the show, doesn't he?
He really does.
How is he to work with? Did the success go to his
He
head?
is such a diva. Like that dog was just like, I will look at the camera straight into the camera unless you give me a dog treat. Then maybe I'll pretend to sleep for you. And I mean, Annick thinks that he's trying to renegotiate his contract, right? You know?
Extremely difficult, yeah. Only 5-star hotels.
Yeah.
First class.
Oh my gosh. He's the kind of dog that like pisses on the bed sheets because they're not 600 thread count, you know? I'm kidding. No, he's actually surprisingly good in the film for being a whippet, and you know, I believe that you have a lurcher mix. You have a type of that dog, and they're not right.
No. They're definitely not.
No, he basically learned 2 words in his lifetime besides his name. He learned, you know, sit and cookie. So for him to act in a film is pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
So for Dearest Sister, you used the Indiegogo campaign. How did that process work for you?
Wow, Indiegogo was crazy. Like she was really amused. She followed us through Indiegogo because I did Indiegogo before Annick became my producer. And so she was following every step of it. It just, I get to see you in Paris, like laughing at the way it's like progressing, you know.
I think I even contributed to the Indiegogo campaign.
A couple times.
Yeah, I did.
Because there was one time where it was like, I don't know, it was like 24,900, and she was like, I can't handle
it was
that.
just it was like, no, we have to go to 25.
Yeah, and she would like put another like $100 in it just because she's obsessive compulsive, and she just had to see the nice, pretty even number. And I was like, maybe this is how we get her. Like we just keep getting people to donate random amounts that are almost a full number.
Every time you get to like 900, it's like, oh,
damn. Indiegogo wasn't what I expected, because I guess like film, I didn't know what to expect with Indiegogo, and when I see the way other people work with Indiegogo, I can see why sometimes they have 50-50 success rate, because I think a lot of people assume that going into crowdfunding is going to be like, I'm going to crowdfunding and people are going to throw free money at me and all I have to do is sit back and like break it in. And it is not that. Like, you find...
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It became my full-time job. I actually had to stop. I was working on storyboards and shot listing when Indiegogo started. And I had to stop because Indiegogo took so much of my time. But what was amazing about it was, like, I made so many friends on Indiegogo. And apparently I didn't really approach Indiegogo like normal.
I think what really, I mean, what made a difference is that you were very active on it.
Yeah.
Like you were uploading videos and you were keeping really people
Videos.
updated, and you had funny videos, and that made a difference because it was just not these boring videos you put on. So I'm gonna do an update number 32.
Yeah.
It's like you had funny videos, and we're constantly in contact with all the people who
I
were
was
donating.
constantly in contact with everyone. But my theory on that is just somebody gave me a contribution. That is money that could have gone for cookies for their dog, or like cookies for themselves. And I know what it's like. You know, like we joke about not getting paid. I know what it's like to take money out of your own pocket that you've earned and give it to something. And I was so grateful that even when people were donating like any amount of money, I would write them back. And I would just thank them personally and just talk to them. And then I would start to remember people's names. And some people would like contribute again. And I was like, to the point where actually with you,
Yeah.
there were a couple contributions because at first it was your own contribution. And then your mother saw that you were really passionate about the project,
Yeah.
so she donated more.
Yeah.
And then she found out about the project herself, and for herself she donated. And I saw this Downs-ass name 3 times, and I actually wrote them and said, I think there's been a mistake. I mean, I'm going to take it, but if you want me to give it back, like I'll find a way to give it back. I need to check. And then they were like laughing, and then we became friends because of this interaction. And Indiegogo built this family for me, this base of people who were as excited as I was to see the movie get made. They were as excited as I was to see all the progress. And they all became my friends. Like, I have friends in Japan who are like, if you get to go to a Japanese film festival, we'll outfit you in a kimono because we're kimono designers. And it's like, okay. And then I had a young lady from Portugal who just came to visit, and she was an Indiegogo contributor, and she brought me Portuguese cookies, and then when I go and visit her, I get to like see her cat, and like it's insane. Like, and this is what Indiegogo does, but that's why it's not just raking in free money and contributions, because people have to understand that there's a human face and human emotion behind it.
Yeah.
And I was even writing to bots, and I didn't know. Because there were some geek types that were really paranoid about contributing, and so they would use like an anonymous bot generator.
Yeah.
And I would type out the name, Dear Mr. 1Z830 Hex 5, like, thank you so much. And then I had a couple of guys write me back, and they were like, that's not my name, and that's not my screen name. It's called a bot, and it's for anonymity. But my name is so and so. Like, my name is Keith, and nice to meet you. And our executive producer Brandon Hashimoto, who is Kenji in the film, came from Indiegogo.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and he loved the project, and then he came over and. I got him to punch someone on screen and act in the film, and now we're so close. And then we had a bunch of people from Indiegogo on set, and I guess it was a wild experience, but a full-time experience.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, I mean, it takes a lot of time, really. It's sorry. And I think that's what makes the success of the campaign is that, you know, you were not, as you said, just waiting passively in your seat, just waiting for the money to come in. There was really something happening, definitely, with the community.
Yeah. I mean, and it is a community.
Definitely.
And I've kept the majority of them. Like, I still write to people all the time. They still stay in contact with me. It's been easier now that I'm kind of figuring out how to use Twitter, kind of, and Instagram, and so like it's easier for like Indiegogo people to stay in touch with me. But at Fantastic Fest, the audience was like filled with Indiegogo contributors, and it was amazing.
That is, yeah, definitely. So, how did you come up with the idea for Dearest Sister?
Dearest Sister. Actually, my husband is a screenwriter, so it's really easy for me. I can just throw any kind of weird idea at him, and he'll turn it into a story somehow, you know. Chantilly was a lot easier because Chantilly was very much based on the death of my mother, and also, not that the death of my mother is easy, but in the ballet Giselle. And so all my films are very ballet inspired. Dearest Sister uses a lot of ballet compositions in the music and also in the choreography of the movement through the scenes. And after I made Gently, not even after I made it, during Gently, my husband was like, you need to start thinking of other projects because you cannot be up the boat or up the river without a paddle. When you go somewhere and you finish a project, people are going to ask you what you're doing next. And if you don't have something, then you're sitting there with your thumbs up your butt, you know what I mean? And I kind of thought about it, and then I went to Fantastic Fest, and it was, like, amazing. You know, it's the first film festival I'd ever been to in my life, and it was just, like, I was saying this to the audience today, I was like, I couldn't believe it. Like, so many people passionate about film and willing to sit there for an hour and a half in the dark and watch, like, the random crap that I created. And it was so fun and so amazing. And I saw so many talented people also displaying their work. And I was like, I have to do another one. And, like, quickly, the idea of the trilogy came to me. And I said, you know, I want to do a trilogy where Gently is a Lao woman in her family, and her place in her family. And Dearest Sister is a Lao woman in her place in her society. And then the third one, which I've spoken to Annick about, which is going to be a long while in the making, is a Lao woman in her place in another society, in a foreign society, outside of Lao. And Dearest Sister is also very loosely inspired by the ballet La Bayadère. And the three characters were built initially around that because La Bayadère is a ballet that takes place in Old World India, and that Asian construct of, like, the nobility and the lower class existed back then, and it still exists now. And so that was my first inspiration for Dearest Sister, was the ballet La Bayadère by Petipa.
Wow,
okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's very cool,
Yeah.
When you think about it, actually a lot of the movements, as you say, they are,
Yeah.
when you know that, you think of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, what kind of lessons did you learn on Chantilly that you took to Dearest Sister?
Lesson 1, don't film in your own house. Lesson 2, don't use the whippet. I'm kidding. No, he's great. I mean, you saw him in Dearest Sister as well.
Yeah, we spotted him straight away. We were like, yeah.
There he is. If anything, Chantilly taught me what I could do and what more I wanted to do and how I could implement it in Dearest Sister. And I knew the mistakes, and not just the mistakes that I had made in Chantilly, but the things that I wanted to do and I was unable to do with just a crappy little DSLR camera and 5 people. And so when Annick came in and basically made it a co-production, I realized that now I have not just more of a budget, but I also have more ability with the Europeans helping, with France and Estonia co-producing, to be able to achieve what I actually wanted. And that's been amazing. But I think the best thing that I carried over from Chantilly, because that's more like what I did not have, that's what I lacked. What I carried over from Chantilly is the independence of working with a micro crew and of doing it myself, where I realized to a degree you have to be able to do almost everything yourself. To a degree, yeah. Even in independent filmmaking anyway, and we're not Hollywood.
I mean, you know, at least you have to know about it.
Yeah, yeah, because if you don't know about it, I'm not saying that you'll get taken advantage of, but there can be like problems or delays, and you may not be able to find the solution. But if you know about it, you can help to find that solution. And one of the things with Dearest Sister that I think that the co-production side was always surprised about, not you, was that anytime there was some kind of hold up or anytime there was some kind of issue, Chris and I were always willing to step up and say, like, is it going to get done? Because if it doesn't get done, we're ready to take it on ourselves. And that's not ideal, and maybe it wouldn't be the best, but we were ready. And it kind of, like, put the fire under everyone to be able to, like, work together and get it done because they realized that come hell or high water, I was going to do it, regardless, you know. And it was a different kind of urgency.
It's fear-based.
Another question I'd like to ask you is, what is it about horror movies that you enjoy?
Ooh, it's kind of weird because you grow up loving this, huh? I mean, you've been watching horror movies since you were a kid.
My first horror film was actually Evil Dead, and I was 8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I was traumatized. Like
So
I
inappropriate.
I just
For
couldn't
an
sleep tonight.
8-year-old. Yeah.
And I think that the great thing about horror films is you get hooked, and you get scared, but in a very safe environment, and you want to go back to it. And because you know that you get scared for about 2 hours, an hour and a half, 2 hours, but when you leave the room, it's fine. You know, the world, I mean, you're in a safe place. And a horror film is like, everything is allowed in a horror film, really. I mean, that's why I like to go back to it, but also because I grew up with, with horror films, and that was my first contact with cinema. And I only discovered really like Orson Welles when I was 15. So suddenly you open up a whole different panorama of film, and then you discover that, there's something else than horror films, but I kind of, like, my heart got stuck with, you know, with horror films, and I got specialized with it, you know, later. I mean, now I'm specialized professionally. But I love every type of film. Like, I could watch Lion King in the morning and just go for whatever, Raw, or, you know, Jane Doe in the evening, and watch an animation theater, you know.
That's how my husband is. I'm not like that.
Yeah.
I can't watch every kind of film.
Yeah. But I mean, Jane Doe was a very good example of a horror film.
Oh, yeah. Jane Doe is
an atmosphere that is really eerie and scary.
Autopsy of Jane Doe, like, after here, because I missed it at a lot of the other festivals, quickly became, like, a favorite of mine. Like, I was like, oh my God.
And it's gone down so well here. It was like the winning film as well.
We
It's
missed
incredible.
it terribly, but
But
we're going to see it
it.
at Abattoir. It's fine. We'll see
Okay,
it.
okay.
Yeah. We'll
That
see
is-
Dearest Sister for the second time as well.
Yes.
That is horror, and it's like,
Yeah.
I don't even want to say in the most traditional sense. It is horror in the most traditional sense, but the way they approached it was so contemporary that when it turns into traditional horror, you're like, what?
Yeah.
That's
I mean, it goes
not-
back to the jump scares and everything, but it's done in a very clever way.
But it's not shitty jump scare. It's not like, oh, you're just trying to get me scared.
Yeah.
It's actually scary,
Yeah.
but delightfully scary. Where you're just like, this is the thing I was trying to describe to my husband, was like, Autopsy of Jane Doe has this delightful scare to it, where it's like, you are terrified, and it's scary, and the jump scare is making you jump out of your seat, but you're delighted about it, and and the character's delivery almost makes it like they're almost like, what is going on here? Like, is this really happening to us? And you guys ever watch zombie movies where like no one in the world seems to know what a zombie is?
Yes. Yeah.
That is
It was
not
about-
them.
Yeah, oh, okay.
That is not them.
Excellent.
They're just like, they're aware of every horror movie monster and every horror movie trope, and because of that, they're just like, is this for real? And that's what makes it amazing. And I was different from Annick. She had the horror movies to sci-fi. I went the other way. I was action movies and horror. Because I was the only girl in my family. My mother, well, of course I had my mother, but she was an entrepreneur, so I wouldn't say she was quite a soft woman. She seemed soft sometimes, but she was very busy, and independent and strong woman. And my father did a lot of the child rearing in the beginning when she was setting up her businesses. And so I remember watching all these like schlocky popcorn action movies, Terminator, and all these things with my dad. And like sci-fi, horror I would say is like strongly in the center, and it branches out. But action starts to meld with horror, and sci-fi starts to meld with horror, and it becomes this like blossoming thing, you know?
Yeah, it's just one genre. then in some
Exactly.
ways, yeah.
And for me, like the
Yeah.
lines of horror and action started to blur. My earliest memory of horror, and you're gonna laugh, is Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Yeah.
I thought it was terrifying when I was a little girl.
I was terrified when I saw it.
Okay.
I was young.
And you know, Michael Jackson and the werewolf, and he's like, And the girl's like, oh, it's just you. I'm safe. And then he looks at you and it's like, oh my God, go get the car with him. And the Freddy Krueger
I'm sorry, I'm
movies.
just gonna cut. It's the guy who did like American Werewolf in London, so you know.
Yeah.
It's John Landis.
Yeah.
It was?
Yeah.
I didn't realize
And it was because
that.
Michael Jackson had seen American
Yeah.
Werewolf, and then he was
wanted
inspired
that
by
theme.
it. Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, so it was. I mean, and the zombies are like
The zombies
really
are
scary.
really well
I would have
done.
been like 12 probably or so.
And they
maybe
were still,
even younger.
they still move so
Yeah.
cool like, when
Yeah.
you watch them.
Yeah.
And
It's
the costumes
still a
are
very
really
good video.
It's time
Very
versus
good
it, yeah.
So
But
good.
then, like, Michael Jackson chasing that poor girl through the streets, I was like, oh my gosh. And the Freddy Krueger movies.
Yes.
Yeah, and those were
Yeah.
my earliest memories of horror. And my father, you know, he was an immigrant and his English wasn't the best. And I don't think he understood the rating system right away. And he loves film. Like, he just, even when he was in Laos, he watched dubbed westerns and everything like that. And my father was a huge cinephile, but I don't mean like douchey, artsy cinephile.
Yeah.
That's what that word means now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he watched movies.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like he watched.
Just loved them.
Loved
and-
Yeah.
commercial
Yeah.
popcorn movies. And we would go to the video store like all the time, and I got to pick one movie always, you know, and my dad almost like didn't care what I picked as long as I didn't go past the black curtain area. You know, and as a child I didn't know what that area was. And he's like, okay, you can pick any movie you want in this store, but don't go past the black curtain area. And I was like, okay, Dad. And then so he'd go and he'd pick his like new releases and stuff. And I still remember the smell of video stores. Like, it was musty and like mildewy
Plastic,
and plastic and like the card. Remember when they used to come in the cardboard sleeves before the plastic cover, and they would like always get all messed up because they were exchanging so many hands. And I took so much time like looking at the covers and picking the movies I wanted. My father should have probably had more discretion in the crap that I was picking. And there were some things he would flat out say no to. Like, I was so impressed with the cover of Puppet Master. Yeah, with that drill-headed puppet and the bloody dog.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want this one, Daddy, I want this one. And he was just like, and he kind of looked at me, he's like, no. But then there were other things, like, I think it's because he wanted to watch them too, like Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And that cover with Freddy Krueger and his claws looking all cool like that. And then my dad let me get it. And like the Jason movies, you know, my dad let me get them. And I don't know. And that it started out very young.
Yeah.
It started out
Yeah.
very young. And I also love horror because terror is multicultural. I don't
Yes,
think
definitely.
love and drama and comedy is. Like, when I watch an Indian love story, sometimes I'm just like, honey, just leave him. He's a jerk. You know? But then in India, the girls are like, oh, I understand. This is how it is with my boyfriend and my family. It's like, it's not my family, you know? Or like, you watch a comedy from France, and it's just like a bunch of people around a dinner table talking about their food, and you're just kind of like, what am I supposed to laugh?
Yeah.
You know?
It's a different humor.
It's a
Yeah.
different humor, and it's different.
Comedy doesn't translate very well.
No.
So that's why there are
Not
all these
always.
remakes going on. in different
Exactly.
countries.
To do an adaptation. But horror, it's fucking scary in every country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it out there.
Okay.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much for your time.
Thank you guys for having us.
We'll put up a list of where Dearest Sister is playing
Cool.
next
And it's
at the end of this
playing
video.
Abattoir Horror Festival, Aberystwyth Arts Centre. I don't know the date just yet, but it's coming, and we will
I think
post.
I heard it, but I'm not going to say because that's not confirmed.
Yeah, so
Hi, Nia, hi, guys.
it's definitely gonna be confirmed soon, and so come and watch it at Abattoir.
Go to Abattoir. It's
Yes.
so awesome.
And come to Celluloid Screams in 2017.
Yes.
That's where we are.
Yes. Hopefully I'll have another film here sometime. Probably
Who
not.
knows?
Probably not 2017.
It's gonna be 2018.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll
There's
see.
so much things you can do in 1 year. So.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, good luck with everything with your next project.
Thank
and,
you, guys.
thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you very much. See you. Bye.
Bye.